Why, hello, sir.
Hey, good morning, Joe Michael. You're famous at Seagate today for
What I
blog
do?
you did on enterprise SSDs.
Oh, wait, I think that turned out pretty good.
I thought it was amazing. I mean, for me, it was more like the first 10, 15 minutes. And then it kind of went outside of my area, but I still watched the whole thing.
Yeah, cool, sweet. I know. Well, the funny story. It was supposed to be on this new blog post I wrote on energy efficiency, and the day we recorded the podcast, the blog was down, and they're hosting it in Korea, and I had no way. It was like at 10 in the morning, they're all asleep. I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, did I crash the blog? Did somebody? Yeah. So anyways, we'll just talk about random AI and FTP and all kinds of random stuff.
I've found that sometimes when I do a talk, I did one for the ITAD community. I think it was, I forget the organization, ASCDI or something like that. And my presentation wouldn't come up. So I just started talking. And then it was EMEA and Asia, right? And the one I did without the presentation, I think was better than me talking to the presentation. So sometimes it works out that way.
Yeah, I'm deep down the rabbit hole and playing around with AI stuff. It's just, I've been working on the ML perf stuff last week, trying to look at all the storage benchmarks. They're not great. It's like I don't know how much value it is adding over FIO, but anyways, I'm running them. Morning, Vanessa.
Good morning, JM. Good morning, Ari. How are you?
Morning. Doing
Shoot.
well.
All right, I know I didn't get back to like 11 p.m. last night, but I didn't send out a reminder, but the automated reminder should have gone out. So I'm hoping we have some humans here today.
I think the rest of the Smith people should be coming in soon. Just message them.
Nice. Well, yeah, one of the things I was thinking of was that paper from Hot Carbon from Microsoft and Carnegie Mellon. It'd be nice to basically, I think you and I can kind of break down the sections and talk about how, I think the very end is kind of a call to action for something like what we're doing, right? It's like ending the use period and how does that impact carbon emissions? So that's kind of a good lead into what we're doing.
It is. We were very happy with the paper and we were able to, you know, consult on it. There a few nits here and there, of course.
Yeah,
But I mean, to me, it's as good as a paper gets. I was really impressed with it.
I am as well. The I have some interesting information about their how they got the LCA data for the SSD stuff because I actually talked to MakerSite. uh
So, oh yeah, MakerSite guys, I've talked to them too.
yeah, and I asked them a lot of questions about Flash, about like what if they had the Flash stuff in their database, and you know I think most of it was modeled with like generic semiconductor stuff, not Flash. So it's actually way worse than the paper. It's probably way worse than the paper even describes.
Yeah, I talked to them about that too, because the embodied carbon from semiconductors is something that's somewhat opaque. I think that paper did a good job, and it referenced a couple of other papers. Uh, I don't know if we want to go down that rabbit hole, but
Well, we'll see. I was hoping we get Shruti and morning guys.
yeah,
Some other folks here. I don't know.
I think it's Shruti's meeting, but having worked at Microsoft, I know no meeting starts on time or ends on time.
That's funny. It's funny. Intel was like the opposite. Like it'd be like, oh, 9 o'clock, like just delete the meeting.
Yeah. Meetings end mid-sentence.
Bye bye.
Yeah, when I started working at Seagate, I was like shocked that a meeting was starting at like 3 minutes after the hour.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then I learned to be on time, but just reprogramming.
Are you gonna make it out for FMS, Ari?
Uh, you know, I, I'm I I have to make a decision by the end of this week. So unfortunately, we have some folks on vacation. I've been asked to, but I really need to be part of a talk to do it. So
If you want to present the CDI talk with me, that'd be fine. Yeah,
yeah, I'd love to do that actually. I
that'd be
think
great.
you and I bring slightly different perspectives, so we can always, divide and conquer.
Be great. Yeah, and hopefully I need to start working. I mean, got an idea for the slides. I just, I've been working on we have a keynote, so I've been doing those slides. I hope I don't get stuck doing it. Or CEO, but if you can't travel,
You're like respectfully, I don't have time.
Okay, well, shoot, well, we might as well just get started with us. Let me pull up our notes here. But one of the things I was going to share was that we have some folks working on this project. uh, Vanessa, how about you guys? Basically going to be interviewing. We have Ari, one of the things that we mentioned was that, we went through this hyperscale RFI that, CDI responded to, which, I think I still owe you guys an email sending at least the summary of that. But, basically that right now under the guidance, I think hyperscalers are looking for anything they can to, reduce the embodied carbon impact for, and the scope 3. And one of the things that came up was, carbon avoidance programs. And, this, this would be a good candidate for carbon avoidance, right? It's looking at stuff like reuse. But we wanted to get some feedback from end users directly, talking to them about how they're structuring these programs. What are they expecting to get out of them? What are their goals? I have an idea basically mostly around just, they're trying to reduce the cost of the impact of getting to net zero because it's tremendously expensive. But yeah, I think it'd be nice to kind of review this paper. Because I think it's a good case study, and like you said, it's a great paper all around, but it's a good way to walk through this problem of it starts out like, hey, there's time to talk about storage emissions and, give some, some impact. Let's see, they actually had the slide deck here too. Yeah. Some high level impact things like, right, 33 of operational emissions is storage, and, solution renewable energy, 61% of embodied emissions.
Oh, I love this. Yep.
Yeah, solution is, well, we already know what the solution is. Like we have two solutions. One is that the vendors do proper life cycle assessments and understand the impact of embodied carbon so they can reduce it. And then two is that we have these programs for circularity that can reduce the impact of embodied carbon by up to 40%. So it's kind of funny. This paper is a great like tee up for what we're doing, because we actually have some things that could be a solution to these embodied carbon. But so the first, it basically just says, what we just described is that your renewable energy can reduce your impact for, scope 2, and it can reduce the emissions coming from the use phase, but it can't reduce embodied carbon from the manufacturing of the devices, because changing to renewable energy in the data center doesn't have any effect on that. This is probably a better background for you guys that aren't as familiar with storage, just of like what Microsoft uses when they say storage. What do they mean? Ari and I know exactly what they mean when Microsoft says storage, but they have Azure storage deploys hard drives and SSDs in all kinds of different various workloads for different cloud computing environments, which they mostly sell to Azure storage to customers that pay them money per month to use the services. So that this section is just describing like the differences between SSDs and hard drives. It's like really, really basic, but I feel like they needed to put it in there, I guess, to make this understandable for people that aren't just in the storage industry. And then this was the interesting thing, right? So they said embodied emissions, that in this SSD rack, a regular compute rack, 30% of the embodied carbon was of the whole rack came from the SSDs, but in an SSD rack, like in a storage focused rack, 80% of the embodied carbon in the rack came from the SSDs itself, which makes total sense because we've already discussed at length that the carbon impact, for SSDs, for embodied carbon scales with the capacity. So this is not super surprising. And the hard drive rack, right? It's a hard drive focused rack. Like most of the equipment, most of the capex spend in that rack is from hard drives itself, not from the other equipment. So that's also not as surprising. That the majority, at least as far as percentages. Now, I wish what they didn't do in here, Ari, which I'm a little frustrated about, is putting some numbers. Like they could have at least put what their findings were as far as like, megaton CO2e, for these different scenarios, which I don't remember. I don't recall them being in the study. Is that correct?
That's correct. I mean, I went and looked at some of the research papers they referenced, and there was some really good stuff there, but we're still, it's better and it's good estimates, I think, by smart people. But getting real LCAs on semiconductors with embodied carbon in there is really a challenge.
Yeah, and I think this has got to be one of our big calls to action, and especially at the sustainability stuff we talk about at FMS, right? Because we have the storage vendors there, but like, this section basically describes, let's say operational emissions. Like I said, pretty straightforward. Just these take energy. We know how much energy they take. Embodied carbon, so this is where they said to estimate the embodied emissions, we use raw materials from vendors like the device, the silicon area, and leverage IMEC and MakerSite to determine the average emissions for the manufacturing process. And so when I talked to MakerSite, they said, oh yeah, even for NAND, we just probably use whatever generic semiconductor model, like it's not specific to the NAND model. So it's better than nothing.
No, it's really not. Some of that data is really bad. We use a company called Enthesis, and they defend it, but it's really stale data. I don't trust it.
And that's why I was trying to look for I was trying to look for anything where they actually described what their actual embodied carbon per gigabyte or per terabyte was. That way we can like baseline it to something that we know, a couple LCAs that we know are correct, to basically see if we're in the right ballpark.
Hey, John Michael, if you have any specific questions for the Carnegie Mellon research team, you can send them over to us because we already made contact with them and they're interested in talking to us.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
And they wanted I'm from CMU and I use my CMU ID, and they got back to me yesterday and they're like, if you have any questions, let us know. We would love to know what you're working on, and then potential for like meeting them and then like discussing their research.
That would be great. We should definitely set up or even come and have them come and present at the CDI meeting to go walk us through the paper, and I'm sure they'll get a ton of comments from the folks. But we absolutely would like to do that, because I think like you saw Ari and I know we know that these numbers are wrong, and I don't know if they know that the numbers are wrong. I know that the other authors from Microsoft of this paper know that the numbers are probably wrong.
I wouldn't want to start a discussion saying that your numbers are wrong.
No,
but we can ask them to explain how they came up with these numbers.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's a little frustrating that it's like really challenging to get like really good life cycle assessment data for SSDs. One of the things was like I think it was like the Apple sustainability report. I don't know if this is the latest one. This is 2023. This might be it. Like I'll show you in here. Like they had something like carbon offsets, carbon footprint by product. Wow, I went right to that page. That was super lucky. So like for an iPhone 14, they show 128 gig, 256 gig, 512 gig, and they show the carbon impact of kilograms per device. Well, in an iPhone 14, it's exactly the same. All the rest of the BOM is the same. It's exactly the same components besides the storage. So when they increase this, now we can do, some rough math, right? So it's like, so this six kilograms of CO2e for 128 gigabytes. So 128 gigabytes divided by 6, or nope, other way around. 6 kilograms divided by 128 is 0.046, let's say, times 1,000. So we have 46 grams of CO2e per gigabyte. So yeah, that's, you can do some basic math like that to be like, are we in the right ballpark? Like, at least SK Hynix seems to have given Apple some data on NAND flash emissions for their life cycle assessment. So I don't know, we could, but it sucks to have to do this, to like reverse engineer Apple's data to get good data. That sucks. Like, they should just report it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what we found is the EcoInvent database is what some folks use to calculate things. And when we tried to dig into that, it was they had no basis for their information. They were just doing estimates. And it was so bad that we actually took down all our SSD. If you go to our site now, all our SSD LCAs have been taken down.
Oh wow, just because you go redo them with first party data, whatever.
And that's what we're trying to do. Yep.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Let's see. Projects. Sustainability. Oh yeah, actually, let's go to the wiki. Let's go to the wiki. We'll go to the mailing list. Yeah, this is well, next week, Ari will send out a little notice. I don't know, we had a bunch of people sign up, which is frustrating. Let's see, we had 29 members. We had a bunch of people sign up. I just saw the email list, so I don't know if something's jacked up with the calendar or whatnot, but you guys found it. So let's see, there's a way to see everybody in the mailing list somehow.
I think it might have been because we didn't get a calendar invite, but just like an email with the link.
Ah, man, this is all right. Well, all right, next time maybe we'll have to let them know that folks aren't able to see it, right? But yeah, this is your minutes from the last time. Directory. Yeah, it shows up on here correctly on the 18th. All right. Well, oh yeah, here we go. Carbon account. So yeah, we have a ton of members here. So there were some folks that we wanted to go reach out to go interview. I will actually, it'd be good. We'll ping Rob. Rob might know. He's one of the OCP folks. That they do like the OCP Ready program and a bunch of other programs. So I think Rob will be useful. We'll email him today, and then I know there was Leslie from I think she's the Cloudflare. I talked to her at the OCP Regional Summit. I think she would be good. So yeah, there's some folks we can find you guys to go interview as well. So back to paper.
Yeah, I'd love to bring MakerSite in. I think I didn't invite them like too aggressively, but I pointed them at all our different groups. But to have someone from that side would be very valuable, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, I think like we mentioned, it's obviously this paper is like a really good step in the right direction. Like and the whole point of the paper's called the Call for Research on Storage Emissions. That is what we're doing. So we have done some research into this space, right? I think the members of CDI and OCP are certainly like pretty well versed in at least what's out there. Like already I've said, there's actually quite a bit of problems with with the way things are being done right now. So this is where we get to the interesting part. So opportunities to reduce operational emissions, basically what this is what we, at some point I can walk you guys through our like total cost of ownership model. But basically the way the hyperscalers do things is that if you can, if your metric of goodness is TCO dollar per terabyte, per rack, then the more terabytes you put in the rack, you know, the more you're going to amortize the cost of everything else in the rack over that storage. And so like fewer, denser drives, this is like one of the most effective ways to reduce total cost of ownership per byte, because you're increasing the capacity. And one of the problems on SSDs for carbon emissions is that the embodied carbon scales with the capacity. So you don't actually, you may be saving quite a bit on the operational phase, but you're not actually saving anything on the embodied carbon. It's actually making it worse. And the only way to reduce the embodied carbon of SSDs, my understanding, is to basically get renewable energy in the factories themselves, that the NAND flash is manufactured. And I think we've heard from Micron and others that are in this game that this is a 25-year thing in some of the fabs. Maybe it's like 10-year thing. It's really, really tricky. I like that they're trying to talk about SSDs versus hard drives, but Ari and I know this is also a really sticky spot just because it changes. But they're both different markets. They serve different purposes. Hard drives are big and cheap. SSDs are fast and expensive. That's the TLDR. But I think this is where we can go. I think I mentioned, like, the call to action was to to have research on reducing storage emissions. We have a novel idea that circularity can extend the use period from an average of 4 years to potentially 7 to 8 years, and significantly reduce the impact of the embodied carbon per year. They're talking about like mitigating the extra failures. Like we've already discussed a little bit of this about in the paper we're about to release for CDI health grading. We actually discussed this at length.
One comment there that I've been aware of, but someone else finally caught it. I was on a talk with a bunch of major players in EMEA, and we were promoting it in sustainability in two ways. One was move to higher capacity, like 30 terabyte drives that we're selling today, where today you might have 12 terabyte drives. And then look at because the embodied carbon and the operational carbon is about equivalent, the savings is, you can do the math, right? But at the same time, we're promoting circularity, where we're reselling those 12 terabyte drives. And my answer to that was there are markets for those drives, from 2 to 12 terabytes, let's say. And in those markets, that's what they're looking for. And some of it's for IOPS, some of it's for cost. So I don't think that they're, that messaging is being hypocritical or but it is something that's going to continue to come up. Is why should we keep using, especially if you don't have renewable energy, why should we keep using a 4 or 8 terabyte drive when you get more or less carbon emissions per terabyte when you go to higher capacities? So just something to keep in the back of your mind.
Yeah, sure. So let's see, what did we say? We said Workstream. Right. I know you provided it for hard drives. You said you provided them the LCA data for the HDD, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I mean, it's easy to find online. People keep asking for it, and we just point them to our website.
Cool. Well, I was hoping we'd have some more folks. Okay, yeah, maybe some folks will trickle in at 8:30. So I know you guys that's ahead, but you guys have like 2 more weeks or 3 more weeks or something?
Yes, around 2 more weeks.
Oh, gosh.
I think maybe 3 actually. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a little bit of a crunch,
Yeah.
but we are excited. We are really excited to start actually, talking to different people, just asking around exactly like what the motives are for each stakeholder, and also figuring out what you do know, but also what you don't know, just so we can figure out the gaps in knowledge as well.
Yeah. And if we have one more human. Hello, Rick.
Hi, how are you? Sorry, I was late.
No worries. We are kind of recapping, well, gosh, I know we officially got started in February, but it doesn't seem like that. It's like we've only been able to meet like 3 or 4 times, but we have made some progress. And I think that the first couple meetings we kind of basically landed on something like this, which was there are a couple options for recommendations for carbon accounting and circularity. One was no impact for circularity, which is what basically there's the semi paper basically suggested that the first user take, is in their guidance, first user take 100% of the scope 3 emissions and the embodied carbon of scope 3. And incentives, that means that the only incentive for circularity is value recovery, of getting money back, for selling a device after the use period. And the problem with that, obviously, is that the ICT industry, like SSDs, memory, have extremely high embodied carbon, and it's a large impact to scope 3. So this doesn't solve any of the, doesn't solve very many of the problems. I think our problem statement is that we've been asked by hyperscalers to figure out ways to reduce their scope 3 impact, and if and circularity is already a big part of the sustainability strategy, is there a way for us to tie the impact of circularity to the carbon impact? So the second idea we came up with was this amortization method, which is, perspective is your data center operator, and you're going to say, I'm going to just amortize the embodied carbon over a certain use period. So if I extend the use of my device to 7 years, and then I sell it to or 8 years, and I sell it to a second user after 4 years, then we just amortize the carbon over the use period of the device. Well, there is some challenges with this. We talked about reliability and TCO and energy consumption, and it just requires some sophistication to understand how 7-year-old devices can be used. But it's not like 7 years old is even not very old for CPUs. There's CPUs on eBay right now. They're 12, 13 years old. They're selling that people, there might be $10, $15, but people are buying them and using them. So they do exist. And then, this problems is there's no way to report this. And there's no way to know, like, okay, what is the average use period of this device? Unless the vendor says, yes, the average use period is 7 years, but all vendors basically just say we have a 5-year warranty. We don't know what happens to it after the 5-year warranty. And then the third option was to look at recertified products, to say, okay, well, if the first user takes all the scope 3, then there is some benefit that a second user could, if you're a second user and you're buying recertified products, that that you could buy a product with basically reduced carbon emissions, or from the manufacturing, because you're buying a device that all the carbon from that manufacturing that device already went to the first user. So you don't want to double count that carbon, because that wouldn't make any sense. So if you're buying a recertified product, there's a way maybe you could say, I'm going to buy a product that's like less carbon intensive. So that incentivizes the buying of recertified equipment. Unfortunately, it doesn't help our hyperscale problem, because hyperscalers are not buying recertified equipment. They're the ones that are selling the equipment, because they're spending hundreds of billions of dollars of capex for their data centers.
So one comment here.
Yeah.
We now have a draft. I can't share it yet. I'll try to. We have a draft of our white paper on, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Where'd that go? basically we have a white paper looking at the it's called Incentivizing Circular Economy Reuse of Data Storage Drives. And it's a comparison of GHG allocation methodologies to inform a new industry standard. So we do have our 1.0 draft of this.
No.
It was done by Anthesis. And we're reviewing it now. I've given feedback. And one of the major topics is like, where does the carbon allocate to? Is it to the seller, to the buyer, or I think they're proposing a mix of the two.
Yeah. All right. So, is there a way you could send it to the Smith folks that are doing the research for us?
That's what I'm thinking right now.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if we have an NDA. I don't think we have an NDA with Smith, but
you can do it under CDI or OCP.
yeah. Let me try. The problem is we're not the authors. It's the company we work with.
Yeah.
But that's what I was thinking right now. Is this paper is almost. It's pretty important to the limited amount of time we have to see if
Yeah,
I
I
can get.
agree.
Yeah.
Right. We want to tie it all together in this CDI white paper that says, here's all the research, here's all the research out there, the CDI OCP white paper we're going to do for carbon accounting circularity. Say all the research that's been done on this topic, and here's like the different methodologies you can approach. Talk about the semi approach, which is what their guidance was. Talk about an amortization model, which we believe makes more sense because it incentivizes increasing the use period of the device. And we can talk about how doing a recertified product might actually be incentivize some folks as well. So I think the paper would explore those sections and explore the research that's been done. And then I ideally publish it as on the OCP contributions as an OCP white paper.
I like that approach. And like I said, there's still it has some good methodology in there, and it's from the people who do LCAs. But there's some huge gaps. Like they don't reference IEEE 2883. Instead they go to NIST.
These guys
and so
thesis.
Yeah. And thesis, yeah.
I don't know why it hates your name, Ari. Rick, which company are you with?
Sorry, I had you guys on mute trying to find it. So we're with Wieland.
Sorry, what's it called?
Wieland, WIELAND, Wieland.
Wieland. What do you guys do?
Yeah. So we are a manufacturer of aluminum strip, copper and brass strip and tube. So we do a lot with the data center design solutions within the cooling of the equipment and the data center.
Are you involved in immersion cooling?
We are, yes.
Okay.
So we've got the ability to provide the tubing for that as well. So I know that we were invited based on our facility in Germany. I believe we're going to be one of the speakers for the OCP for the seminar that's coming up here in a couple months.
Cool.
Talking about carbon neutral, circular economy, things like that.
That's cool. It's always good to get, and I got an earful yesterday, but it's always good to get viewpoints from EMEA, especially from the EU.
Yeah.
I apologize. It's my first meeting, so I'm just trying to kind of gather my bearings on kind of what we're doing, what we're talking about. And I apologize. I'm also driving.
No worries. Yeah, like I said, typically we have at least maybe like 10 folks here. But yeah,
is there an updated link that you guys can send out as well? I think there's one that I have that takes me somewhere, and I was the only one that was connecting to it. So I was able to get a
yeah,
coworker
it
send me the
seems like there
updated
was
link.
something not that maybe the calendar invite wasn't super clear, but yeah, all right, we'll send we'll send an update next time to make sure some folks are here. But
Good deal. And I know there's a couple meetings that happen, not just this one, but there's others that happen throughout the month as well. So is this a special group that's part of the
yeah,
OCP, or is there others?
yeah, there's a bunch of different sustainability projects going on. Let me see if I can pop up. I know Shruti has a new slide deck that she needs to send me that has all the different subgroups. But in sustainability, let's see where that should show. Oh man, I cannot. Okay, yeah, they're supposed to be. I know this is not very organized, but okay. In the sustainability, we have circularity, we have carbon disclosure, carbon modeling. Some of these may not be a little bit stale. Data center efficiency metrics, power telemetry. This is one we're talking about today. This carbon accounting and circularity, Ari and myself.
And I know that's something that we're really engaged with. We've got actually a division, a group that really focuses on circularity and carbon reduction. So I know you talked about a white paper earlier. I know that we have also have several white papers that we've written and created. So we're pretty much in line with all that. We've got setting standards within our industry as far as being able to take the metals that we produce, the precious metals, and then also work with the vendors to bring back the scrap back into our fold, so that we're reducing that carbon footprint. So now that allows us to reutilize a lot of that precious metals, which reduces that CO2 footprint. So that might be something we could potentially talk
Yeah,
about.
that's awesome. If you guys have some data on how you have done that methodology of, that would be something that would be useful.
Great. And again, I apologize. I'm just trying to get kind of my foot underneath me here, so I can really know how we contribute and what we need to continue to provide. Valuable.
Yeah, I think I just did a high level summary, right? We're trying to write this white paper that describes this idea of carbon accounting and circularity, what research is out there, what methodologies are available, and then what would be, the reasonable, rational incentives to drive some of this action. And then trying to tie some of this together. I know we would like to, I need to talk to Shruti if they accepted the, we control the sustainability track, the leadership team in OCP Global Summit. So I think we're going to reserve 30 minutes for this session in October. So yeah, I would, for the folks that can make it, I would highly recommend. This is my absolute favorite event, data center event of the year. So OCP Global Summit in San Jose in October. It's the best of the best. But yeah, we should have a 30-minute session on this topic, which ideally we make some slides that describe, go through the white paper that we have written. That would be my desire, by October. So that means we have to.
I think initially you guys wanted us to submit a couple of responses to kind of what we do. I'm not sure if that went to, again, I'll have to do a little more digging in to make sure. I know Florian, he's out of our Germany facility. He's the one that kind of was the initial contact for this, and then we got pulled in. So again, I'm just trying to catch up.
Cool. And wait, do you prefer Alex or Alexandra?
Alex is fine. My Hispanic mother calls me Alexandra when I'm in trouble. So just Alex is fine.
Nice. Are you going to come out for the Global Summit?
I would like to.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah,
I
would like to.
And, so hopefully we can get this research buttoned up. And again, I know, cool. So I think I'll send out the minutes. I don't want to waste too much time, folks. Ari, but we'll yeah, if you can sync with the folks to see if we can send the research, yeah, so we have these folks for a limited time, and any data we can provide to kind of help this CDI OCP white paper would be tremendously helpful. And yeah, Alex, you just keep bugging me about the intros.
Yeah, I'm like, how much is too much? I don't
No,
know.
it's fine. Just keep bugging me. That's the only way that works. Unfortunately, I just got like 7 inboxes. So sometimes
Yeah, that'll
sometimes
do
some
it
of
for
them doesn't.
sure.
Yeah. So yeah, just bug me. We'll get the stuff set up. And yeah, we do have Miranda from iMasons coming to the CDI meeting next week. So let's have a list of questions for her, and you know, it'll be she's, like I said, she'll be a very, very, very good resource, and she'll probably, she's like the super connector, right? So yeah, she'll be able to help us get some high profile folks
Cool.
to talk to. So
Yeah, that'd be great.
all righty,
All right. Well, thank you guys.
thanks folks. Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Bye.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.